Greetings. Welcome back. Today's date is 1/11. 1. Well, when you add 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 6, it is 10 in simplest form. It's 1. Won't happen again till 2035. Anyways, today's presentation, we'll be going over Gregg Charles Popovich, the head pope of basketball. The end of an era. And as you see, we got the number 77, 214, and 128. Get into it. Now, if you haven't seen these two videos, the 214 code and the 77 code, they're my two first presentations that I had posted on the channel. I highly suggest you check them out prior to this presentation, and everything will make so much more sense. Hope y'all go and check them out and leave a comment and like. It'd be greatly appreciated. Get into it. Who is Gregg Charles Popovich, also known as Coach Pop? Gregg Popovich, he was the coach of the San Antonio Spurs for 29 seasons. From 1996 to 2025. He was born January 28th, 1949. He served in the U.S. Air Force and graduated from the Air Force Academy. Thus, him being born on January 28th makes him an Aquarius. He retired as the NBA's all-time winningest coach, securing 5 championships with the San Antonio Spurs. End of an era. Date. Flash 2. On May 2nd, 2025, San Antonio Spurs officially announced that Gregg Popovich would step down as head coach after 29 seasons. May 2nd. That is the 122nd day of the year. Gematria. San Antonio equates to 122. Flash 2. Number resembles 52. Just like how we're on a calendar, 52-week calendar named after Pope Gregory, Gregorian calendar. Gematria, Pope equals D2. What also had occurred on this day, May 2nd, 1611, King James Bible released. What does that matter? Because King James' son is King Charles. Gregg Popovich's middle name is Charles, alluding to the first American Pope. Now, what also had occurred on this day, after Gregg Popovich retiring and it being the anniversary of the release date of the King James Bible, to make America great again, the sitting president, Donald Trump of the United States, posted this AI image on his Instagram 322 days into his age, a highly symbolic number of him suggesting he should become the Pope. Now, you could write that date 5/2/25 when you abbreviate it, right? Remember, 52-week calendar named after a Pope. Pope equals 52 and 25. Here in those Instagram caption, when you add 52 plus 25, you get 77. Now, also, Donald J. Trump equates to 888 in the English Sumerian cipher. Gregg Popovich equates to 888. The king, the Pope. When Gregg Popovich retired on May 2nd, 2025, he had made that transition to the president of basketball operations for the Spurs. Or it's 6 days later, Pope Leo XIV has been confirmed as the 267th Pope of the Catholic Church out of Chicago, Illinois. Pope Leo becoming the first ever American Pope. Stand out a lot. Gregg Popovich, he's from East Chicago, Indiana, in close proximity to Chicago, Illinois. With that being said, for those of you who aren't familiar with the region that's located out in the Midwest, in the Indiana-Illinois border, they refer to that as the region. But East Chicago, Indiana isn't too far from Gary, Indiana, home of the king of pop, Michael Jackson. King of pop, Michael Jackson, not too far from the king of basketball, Coach Pop. And also, one thing to keep in mind is it was 6 days later when Pope Leo came to power as the first ever American Pope, as the San Antonio Spurs are trying to win their sixth championship. But what does Popovich even mean? Derived word pop, which means priest in many Slavic languages. Well, the suffix ovich means son of, literally meaning son of the priest. Historically, this name was common because, unlike Catholic priests, Orthodox priests were allowed to marry and have families. Their children often took the name to indicate their lineage. The Popovich, meaning son of the priest. His name even has the Catholic ties when we have, or at least I have, been referring to him as the Pope of basketball. He is the head. Just to emphasize more on the Pope correlations, Gregg Popovich has been linked to mentoring many coaches, but one that stood out to me specifically was Mark Pope. Mark Pope, he is the head coach of the Kentucky Wildcats, very prominent college university. Prior to him taking on the position, John Calipari, had that coaching position for quite some time. It states right here, Mark Pope's team mantra gives a nod to Gregg Popovich by Mark Knight, December 10th, 2024. He states that he calls it the pop rule, and the concept is that players should think about their next move before the ball even hits their hand on a pass. The goal is to be moving the ball fast, not slowing down or letting your mind live with indecision. That his players have a plan in place. This is an asset full of offense. Mark Pope. But also, what stood out to me was Mark Pope was born on September 11th, 1972. For those of you who've seen the video of the whole 77 code, we refer to Popovich led the San Antonio Spurs with the dynamic duo Tim Duncan and David Robinson, referred to as the Twin Towers, as they went on to defeat the New York Knicks 4-1. 11 would occur on 41 date numerology. Coach Gregg Popovich Day. On October 15th, 2025, a San Antonio City Council committee officially approved the declaration to designate January 28th, 2026 as Coach Gregg Popovich Day. This date coincides with his 77th birthday and serves as a tribute to his legacy following his retirement from coaching in May 2025. Gregg Popovich officially concluded his head coach of the San Antonio Spurs after 29 seasons and turned 76 years old in January 2025, placing him in his 77th year of life. So, October 15th, we get the news of him retiring. 10/15, much like 115. Well, Greg Charles Popovich equates to 115. 29 seasons in the 77th year of his life. We had said in the previous slide, he had some correlations to 9/11. Well, the the death toll of September 11th, 2001 was 2977. And Coach Pop right here in gematria equates to 77. Huge number with Popovich. 128. Why does it matter? March 26, 2024, 1:28 a.m. The Francis Scott Key Bridge in Baltimore collapsed. The disaster resulted in the death of six members of a construction crew who were filling the potholes on the roadway at the time. Well, Gregg Charles Popovich in reverse ordinal equates to 326, like the resembled date, March 26. Gregg Popovich has that 1/28 birthday, January 28th. Well, bridge collapse in gematria equates to 1:28 as the bridge would collapse at 1:28 a.m. Remember this day like it was yesterday. It's the day after my birthday. Remember, six people, they say, who passed away as the Spurs are trying to win their sixth championship. Spurs versus Warriors, March 9th, 2024. Now, this game was prior to the bridge collapse that would occur in Baltimore, the Francis Scott Key Bridge. The Spurs had posted this graphic of a boot going into the Golden Gate Bridge. Pontifex Maximus translates to the greatest bridge builder or the greatest pontiff. Excuse me. So why does the Warriors and Golden State matter with San Antonio? They have some type of history. They have history together. Gregg Popovich was an assistant coach with the Warriors prior to taking on the head coach position with San Antonio under head coach Don Nelson. Well, there's a correlation going on here between San Antonio and the Golden State, no doubt. More 128 connections, 10:28 a.m. and Coach Mitch Johnson. So who's going to be the successor after Gregg Popovich retires for leading the Spurs in 29 seasons? It is Coach Mitch Johnson. Johnson was promoted to the full-time position May 2nd, 2025. After Popovich would step. Let's go back to 9/11. It was at 8:46 when the first tower would get hit, and then 102 minutes later at 10:28 a.m. when the tower would eventually collapse. Mitch Johnson in gematria in the Jewish cipher equates to 1028. Mitch Johnson is a Seattle native. His dad playing for the Seattle Supersonics. Seattle is a prominent city when it comes dating back to 9/11 because it was the jumbo jet line that was issued out of the city of Seattle, the home of the Bill Gates and the first ever coronavirus um, case that took place in Kings County when Corona means crown. Irving Morrow, the architect behind the Golden Gate Bridge, 10/28. Irving Morrow was the architect best known for his design work on the Golden Gate Bridge, died on October 28th, 1952. He was age 68 at the time of his death. Again, and 28 resembles as 128, like 128. The architect behind the bridge literally passed that day. Bridge collapse equals 128. Coach Pop's 77th birthday in the NBA Finals. The NBA Finals are scheduled to begin Thursday, June 4th, 2026. But when you measure that from Gregg Popovich's January 28th birthday to June 4th, 2026, it is a span of 128 days. Also, June 4th, the day, leaving 210 days left in the year. For those of you who don't know, San Antonio is referred to as the 210. That is the area code of the city, 210. You call it Countdown City, and they even have a countdown lineup that involves Stephen Castle, number 5, number 4, De'Aaron Fox, number 3, Keldon Johnson, number 2, Dylan Harper, and then number 1, Victor Wembanyama, the countdown lineup. Greg Popovich, the tree of life, like I said previously in the presentation, he is known for being the ultimate, guy who mentors all these coaches and then eventually, having them branch off into eventually becoming success for the most part. An example would be Steve Kerr, the player coach under him, had a huge influence of his coaching and player career. Steve Kerr won his last 2 championships with the San Antonio Spurs, and his 2 previous numbers were number 25 and 4. He said he's highly connected to 9/11. 9/11 occurred on the 254th day of the year. Steve Kerr, he is the head coach of the San Francisco Warriors, leading them to their success, in the past decade. He is the chosen coach. Lastly, to Scott Key. Today, on 1/11, it's the 183rd anniversary of Frank Key's death. So 183 looks like 18/3, which is March 18th. Well, 18th is the 77th day of the year. Today's date, written 1/11, like 111. Well, 9/11 is the day leaving 111 days left in the year. First day of Greg Popovich Day on Greg Popovich's 77th birthday. Popovich born in 49, 7 times 7 is 49. For his all-time great, Tim Duncan is even 49 years old. It could get very interesting here. Being said, we are at the end of this presentation. Thank you so much for staying towards the end. I greatly appreciate every single one of y'all. Hope y'all enjoyed this presentation as much as I did making it. Shout out to everyone who contribute, dropping gems to help me, get these type of revelations and get up on here and present it to y'all. Myron, Cody, AJ, Zach, these great decoders out here. Looking forward to making more videos going forward for the year 26, and hope y'all enjoy this first one yet. More to come. Thank you so much. Hope y'all enjoy this quite prophetic time we're living in. I'm out.